Merry meet and welcome. I'm Taylor and today we're going to be making the Sims BLT. Now this is not the faux BLT, which they do have. We'll be focusing on actually recreating bacon at that time. For now, since this BLT is a super easy recipe, we're going to keep it super easy with practically doing the same thing that you do if you bought bacon at a store, which is buying it, frying it up in a pan, toasting our bread, and assembling our sandwich. So that's what we're gonna do today. Let's go ahead and get started with that bacon. Merry meet again. So now we're getting started with making our bacon. So I have this where you can use a frying pan and you're going to just want to lightly coat it with some oil. Less is going to be more with this kind of bacon, or really any bacon if we're being honest. Some bacon you don't even need to put any on there. And then we're actually going to be using tongs, which I didn't grab. So I'm kind of using this to help spread out the oil a little bit more because it's such a light amount of oil. I don't want to like over oil it. And we're gonna let this just heat up on medium-high heat, or I'm sorry, just medium heat. You don't want to really go into high, and depending on how you like your bacon and whatnot, because this will cook pretty fast once the heat is on it. So for BLT, I feel like typically you see about like 3 slices, and I'm gonna do about 4 just because I feel like that's going to be good based off of this bacon. So we're going to put them down just right over our oil spot, and you always want to be careful, make sure they don't like fall apart or anything like that. And this is a good section where none of them really were like stringy. It's kind of funny because like normal bacon can get like that too, but as you saw, we're using our plant-based bacon. And we're essentially going to leave this, it says to cook them for about 3.5 minutes. And this is the secret to cooking any kind of bacon, if you've seen my other video, is it is to let it cook on one side since it's such a thin meat. Just realized you were not in the center, so there you are. Anyways, so let it cook on one side because it's such a thin meat, it'll mostly cook it through that way, and that's how you're gonna get the crispiness. As soon as you flip it, that kind of takes away from the crispiness. So while this is cooking up, I am going to put my toast or my bread in the toaster, and we're going to go ahead, let this crisp up, and in the meantime we're going to slice up our tomato. Alright, so we're just pivoting our camera a little bit to allow that bacon to cook, and we're going to just slice up the tomato. So a trick for a tomato is if you have one of these knives that have these holes, it's really nice for cutting up any vegetables or fruit because this is what helps it not stick to the knife, in theory. Because it allows the air to where that section from the juice doesn't make it as difficult. The other thing for cutting a tomato is you want to have a sharp knife, because a lot of times you'll see like when people cut a tomato, they're like, oh, it always ends up like juicy or like seeds falling out and things like that. And so it does depend upon the firmness of your tomato, which ours is not very firm, so hopefully we'll be able to get a few very nice slices. But the other thing is how you pierce the skin. The skin is tougher than the interior, so if you're like really pushing down on the tomato to get through this skin, that's why it's going to be breaking through. And so when that happens, I suggest using the point to break the skin and then using that to gently make your slice. So for instance, you do that and then come back up and slice down. Okay, and then since this is a little bit juicier, we are trying to get bigger slices, and I am not, so hold on, I am working in a very tiny space. Let me move some of these giant beefsteak slices out of the way so that I can have this be a little bit more front and center for you. Okay, so we'll make this one. Yeah, this one is not a very or it's an overripe tomato, so it's very hard to get like good slices out, so it's even more important to break the skin ahead of time. That slice is gonna be decent. We only need a good couple slices for this, let's be real. And then the rest we can like chop up and put into a good salad. Okay, yeah, so this is gonna be the point where it gets harder. So we're gonna put it down on the side here, and then same thing. Cut the skin, and then we're going to very gently, very safely cut across. Oh, that's fun. Okay, so not all this tomato is good to use. Good to know. We're just going to get on through. So we'll just cut this out, and it'll be good. But there are a couple of tomato slices for our BLT at least. Let's go finish up our sandwich. Okay, so we're gonna come back here and flip over our bacon. And I personally don't like bacon to be too crispy. I just like it to be like medium cooked. And I used to like it floppy, which I've realized is just because I used to be so impatient that I just would eat all of my food essentially raw. I was just like, yes, it's cooked enough, go. Anyways, so then after learning more about cooking, I realized like the proper like color, texture, taste, not necessarily proper taste, but the ways of how heat and adding these different things can really play around with the flavor and enhance the flavor versus take away from it. So yeah, it's just really good to actually find what works for you, turns out. So I think the screen fogged up, might be a little foggy. So it might be a little blurry just because it's not quite focusing on the bacon itself, but it looks so good. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this bacon off onto our plate to help soak up any of this grease. If you like grease, it's so minimal because we only lightly coated that you can just put it on a sandwich from here, just turn off your heat, leave it here while you construct your sandwich. Or you can do what I'm going to do, which is put it on some bamboo paper towel and let the grease get soaked up a little bit while we prepare our sandwich, or assemble, I should say. All right, marry me one last time because there will not be a taste test for this one. I already know this is good. What we're going to do though is officially assemble our sandwich. So for the Sims, they don't necessarily do this first part that I'm going to do, but I think it's essential for BLT. So I'm gonna take some vegan mayo here and spread it on, I like both sides. You can do one or you can do none. But I'm going to spread it on our toast here. And then I'll just put that right over there. What I like to do is I like to put some salt on both sides. Just a little bit. You can maybe do a little bit more on one side for where you're gonna put the tomatoes. Then I like doing pepper. Same concept. So now this next one I really love to use. It got introduced to me because I was introduced to eating tomato sandwiches, and so this was like a natural spice to put on it. You can do just salt and pepper, you can do no spice, you can just do the BLT, you know, but some garlic powder really helps bring out some more of those flavors. So just gonna sprinkle a little bit more on the side that's gonna have the tomatoes and just a little bit on the other side. And then, oh sorry, this is my little herb seasoning thing. Anyways, so now we're gonna go ahead and get started with making our BLT past all those extra little steps. So it is very simple. We're gonna start with the B. And you can bend these. You also can cook them in half ahead of time. That way you don't have to do this. But pretty nice, neatly folded. So B, the L, and we got fancy lettuce. So it's huge. So we're going to bend it in half. And you know what? We're just gonna enjoy all of the lettuce that is. And then of course we have our tomatoes. I'm gonna put these on this side. And then we just finish off our sandwich. Sorry, I'm one of those people who I want the tops to match the tops, which also means I would like this to look a lot prettier. Excuse me, excuse me. So there we go though. Our BLT sandwich. It has a crazy cross section thanks to our massive amount of lettuce, but we definitely have all the ingredients there. So maybe probably only 1 or 2 slices of lettuce, but I personally need to eat up this lettuce, so I'm going to go ahead and use all of this on the sandwich and help get my 2 cups of leafy greens a day. But that's our BLT from The Sims. Please ignore most of the mess here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.